the caterpillars were still getting through. And I couldn't save myself. And I felt so hopeless. Hello, boss. Today we are going to be talking about a phobia that I have. I thought of what better time to come on here and talk about this than this moment, because it literally just happened and I am still feeling very shaken up by it. But I am just so extremely proud of myself because I was able to handle it the way that I did. And so, yeah, I want to share with you guys about my condition and how it came about and what it means and how to overcome it. I don't know about that piece of how to overcome it too well because I'm still in that process. But I'm just so proud of myself that I was able to handle the situation the way that I did. If you don't know this about me, I am a CSA survivor and I have an extreme phobia towards caterpillars. And just saying it makes me emotional because um, there's just been so much growth there. So, my phobia with caterpillars started as like an innocent little thing at first. It was like, I found caterpillars kind of creepy the way that they kind of like swirl up like that. I was able to read like the Hungry Caterpillar book. It was all fine. Like, it was just, a little ick, but I didn't have an extreme phobia until this incident happened where I felt so trapped that my sense of emotions in a way connected towards the caterpillars. And after this incident happened, it was like, oh heck no, like I can't, like this is too much. It wasn't until I actually started going to therapy where I realized that my phobia with caterpillars deeply tied to my childhood trauma as a CSA survivor. It was heightened in this incident due to my perpetrator being a factor in that as well. So I'm going to tell you about the incident, and then I'm going to tell you about what just happened here and the growth that I've had, okay? So the incident happened when I was probably like 16 or 15 years old, around there. I didn't know how to drive yet, and I had gone to this lake, I think it's like Willow Falls or something like that. And at that lake or park area, the state park or whatever, there's a season where like the monarch maybe butterflies, they mate and give birth there or whatever. And then there's like a whole bunch of like caterpillars everywhere. When I was there, it was like chunks of caterpillars everywhere in trees, and there were caterpillars hanging from the branches. There was caterpillars all over the ground. I have never seen so many caterpillars in my life. Like that was the worst ever, and I've always like tried to avoid this area, or if I have to go there, like I'm like, is it butterfly season? Like I'm not gonna go there and put myself there if it's gonna be that many. Like it was thousands of caterpillars. And I'm actually okay with butterflies, but it wasn't until this incident where I started to not be okay with butterflies, because then I started to see that the bodies of butterflies started to look like caterpillars. And so, with this incident, when I went there, it was this season of caterpillars in transition and trying to grow up. When I went to this park, it was actually my perpetrator and his wife, and I don't know if any of my other siblings went, but there was cousins that showed up there too, and then we were all supposed to like play volleyball together and have like a picnic or something. I had followed my perpetrator brother to this park. All of a sudden, like I saw how much caterpillar there was, just like how I explained it to you guys, and I was really feeling an ick. Like it was creeping up where it was like, oh, this is, oh, so disgusting. And I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to honestly remove myself from that situation and that environment because this ick was starting to just make me feel very uncomfortable. And being as young as I was, being incapable of like driving, I couldn't remove myself from there. I came there with somebody, so I had to leave when they leave only. And of course, they didn't want to leave. So it ended up being so bad where there was caterpillars falling from the sky, you guys. It was so bad where I couldn't stay outside anymore. So I went to sit in the car. And when I sat in the car, because it was summertime and, we were playing volleyball outside, it was a beautiful day. It was hot. And of course, like, we're, not the most well off. So we're not going to turn on the car and leave the AC running the whole time. So I cracked open the window to sit in the car and wait for them because my perpetrator brother wouldn't take me home. So I had no choice but to stay in that car. And when I stayed in that car with the windows cracked, caterpillars were also getting in through the cracks. And I remember feeling so trapped. And I talked to my therapist about this because I told her about my phobia with caterpillars. And she asked me, like, when did it start? And it started from this incident because I couldn't remove myself. I couldn't help myself. And it happened to be also my perpetrator brother who sexually assaulted me when I was a child and mentally abused me growing up. So all of that to this moment and the caterpillars and feeling trapped, I built this really strong fear with caterpillars. And it wasn't until I went to therapy and my therapist and I went through this process of, diagnosing why that is and what could it be and just digging deeper into everything. Um, yeah, it started from there. And since then, I've done a whole bunch of work on like learning how trauma works and how fear works and how to overcome PTSD and all of that, right? So one of the things that I'm working on with this is exposing myself little by little to caterpillars, and telling myself that this fear of caterpillar is not tied to this fear of my perpetrator, and that there are two different things, and that I'm no longer trapped like the way that I was in that car. Because I think my strongest memory of that incident is visualizing and seeing all those caterpillars and it falling from the sky. But the one that really, really traumatized me was being trapped in that hot car with the windows cracked and then the caterpillars were still getting through. And I couldn't save myself. And I felt so hopeless. I think that is where the fear and the pain and the feeling hopelessness like comes from. So when I see caterpillars now, it's almost as if I'm back there, as if I'm back to being trapped and like this caterpillar has me on a leash and it's like they have control over me. And so I'm working on undoing that and working on that I have the control, because trauma happens because of situations where you lose control, right? So, yeah, I'm trying to get that back. After this happened, that's when my fear with caterpillars started to get really extreme. And I'm talking about where I couldn't even see caterpillars in cartoons because it would just creep me out, and I would just feel like, I don't know, I just wanted to avoid it so bad. If there was a caterpillar on me, I would cry. Like, I would just scream and cry because of how intense I felt towards that. I remember too, and I'm just like, out of all things, all places, there was a caterpillar that was on my arm while I was driving. I remember, like, I'm just like, why? Why out of all things, there's a caterpillar on me? I just felt like I was being haunted by caterpillars. So, with my phobia increasing and getting so bad, I just avoided caterpillars everywhere, in cartoons, in nature, in videos, because sometimes people would post pictures or videos of butterflies and caterpillars forming to butterflies and all of that. Like, I would just avoid it from the outside. When, like, my partner now, when he first met me and I told him of my fear, it was hard to believe, because when I just told him, I'm just like, I don't like caterpillars. They creep me out and they're just so ew. He didn't understand the extent of my phobia. After healing and understanding my trauma, he knows how serious it is and how scared I am of it. He doesn't take a caterpillar and chase me around with it, because honestly, it's not great for people to do that to people who have an extreme phobia of something. I think it's very inconsiderate and not very empathetic of someone to do something like that. And that is why I also don't believe in children being taunted with things, or being taunted, because it can get really extreme when they don't feel safe, and then they build this emotional connection with, like, I can't be around caterpillars because of this moment that I remember having, because my mom chased me around with a caterpillar. That's why I don't recommend, and I don't like it when I see parents taunting their children with things, or making a joke out of something that their child has an extreme fear of, because you have that fear because you don't feel safe with that. And since I have it, like, firsthand, I know how hard and heavy it is on the human body, on my body, because of that phobia. And I wouldn't want somebody to just feel the extreme fear, or the anxiety, the pressure, or the my body melting. Like, I don't want other people to feel that. And so that's why I take it very seriously. With me learning about my phobia, I have learned to expose myself more to that. And I am working on where, like, I go on walks with my sister, and there will be caterpillars in our pathway. And I just thought about this too. Like, whenever I'm walking, I'm always looking down on the ground. I'm not looking ahead, or I'm not looking, like, in nature too often. Most of the times I'm looking on the ground when I'm walking. And I realize that it's because, in a way, like, I don't want to step on a caterpillar, and I want to be aware of the caterpillar being there. Today, out of all days and all things, I was going to my cousin's ceremony, and I was walking, and there was a furry caterpillar on the ground. And this already has been where I have already, started to expose myself, where, like, I'll just walk around a caterpillar. I'm not jumping or screaming or crying anymore, but I'll walk around it and just let it do its thing and not let that control me. So I was walking to my cousin's, and I was looking on the ground while I was walking, and there was that furry caterpillar. And I just told myself, like, huh, interesting. I'm going to my cousin's gathering where I will potentially see my perpetrator. And I was like, this is probably a sign of something. I thought maybe it's a sign to not go, but I'm already here, so I'll just stay for a little bit and support them. Or maybe it's a sign that, like, be careful. I don't know. But it crossed my path, and I was like, how odd that I see a caterpillar. I came home, and when I got home, I went into my room, and I went to go open the blinds. And when I was walking to my room to open the blinds, there was a caterpillar on the ground. It was like the size of my pinky, and it was green this time. Okay. I have fear of all kinds of caterpillar, like any type of caterpillar, the way that they move. I feel creeped out. But the ones that swirl, I'm even more scared of. Like just it when they swirl, I get really, really creeped out and icked out by it. This green caterpillar, it was laying on the ground and it was not moving. And when I saw it, I was like, what the heck is that? Don't tell me it's a caterpillar. Because that would be my second time seeing a caterpillar today. I looked closer and it was a caterpillar. And so I was like, oh my God, today, second caterpillar, when I did something where honestly, this event with my cousin is the first event that I've gone to knowing that I was going to see my perpetrator brother after coming out about him being my perpetrator. And so being in an environment with him and choosing to be there, like there was a lot of things that I had to overcome to show up for those cousins. And I did do that, but I'm just like, I did that and I was able to overcome that and show up for my cousins. And these caterpillars just coming to my presence, I'm like, why? I question, like, what does this mean? I think that it means that I am strong enough and I can do it, and I have my boundaries still with caterpillars and with people around me, but I could just do it. Going back to that story, the green caterpillar. I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? My partner's not home. What am I going to do? Because this is my studio, my room that I'm going to be walking around. Like if I don't move it, I don't know if it's dead, but if I don't move it, what if it crawls and it crawls on me, and then like I can't do anything about it, and like what if it's too late for me to avoid that?" So I thought of moving it, and I was like, okay, I don't want to kill it. So what am I going to move it with, and how am I going to move it? So when I started to move it, I grabbed this piece of, oh, and just touching it, like it makes me feel it, like ick still. But I grabbed this, whatever you want to call it here, portrait, because it was a hard piece of like cardboard attached to it. So I grabbed that and I was like, I'm just gonna lift it up with that because that gives me enough space for me to have it at a distance and carry it outside to my patio and let it go on its way. But when I did that, it started crawling on it. It started getting grip and it started crawling on it, and I could feel my whole body just melting. And right now, even now, like I feel very jittery still because it all just happened, and I'm still on alert of like, what if there's more? So, yeah, it was crawling and I was struggling to pick it up and, you know, save it and put it outside. So I grabbed a stick and it couldn't grip onto the stick because the reason why I grabbed the stick was because I wanted it to be a distance between me and that thing, and I didn't want it to call me and then I drop it and then something happens. So I grabbed the stick and then the stick was not giving it enough grip. So I was starting to like struggle with the paper and the stick, and eventually I just grabbed both of it and I held it there and I walked outside with it and I opened the door, and it was crawling towards me on the piece of paper, and I was trying to hurry it up, got it outside, dropped the piece of paper, grabbed the piece of paper, and it fell on the side. And then I came back and I was gonna grab my phone to record this moment, this accomplished moment of myself. And then when I came back, it was crawling on the crevices of the patio, and then it fell in the cracks. So I was like, okay, I don't have to remove it again, or toss it over. So, um, yeah, that was kind of the end of the incident, and I just felt really shaky after, and I wanted to come on here and talk about this because maybe like five or 10 years ago, I don't know how long it's been, but I would not have been able to do that. I would not have been able to pick it up and give it another chance. I would not have been able to gather myself and accomplish everything that I did there because of the extreme fear and phobia that I had with caterpillars. And I just wanted to come on here and share with you how extremely proud I am of myself to have done that and to have overcome and to continue to expose myself to things that really trapped me. And if you're like me, where you have something like this, I just want to say that you can do it and you can overcome these fears. And it might not be like in an instant, but you can expose yourself to it and you can slowly overcome it. And that's, I am proud of you for doing that for yourself, just like how I'm so proud of myself for having done this. I'm still really shaken up by everything. I feel very exhausted, but I know that it's because I put my body through something that I know that it needed to go through, but I also know that it could have handled it because I didn't like crash out where I couldn't control my emotions and I wasn't like hyperventilating. I was able to sit with this incident, sit with my emotions and go through my emotions and allow my emotions to come through because of what this incident means to me. And for that, it's just incredible that I'm able to do that now because I was not able to do that years ago. That's all I have to share with you guys. I just wanted to come on here and talk about how trauma and phobias can be connected, how it could be connected to your perpetrator, how feelings and phobias can be connected where you feel trapped and that's how it starts. It could start from little things like an ick and then it can escalate to it being more extreme like phobias. So yeah, just understanding where your phobia comes from and how to disconnect from that where you no longer are feeling trapped every time you see this item or this thing or this environment or this person, so that you can go about your day and not let it affect you so much, and so that it doesn't have control over your whole system where you emotionally or mentally or physically shut down entirely or lose control entirely. If you have a phobia like me, I know that you can overcome it. I know that you will eventually break down the pieces on understanding why it is the way it is, and that you will be able to undo that connection of fear and anxiety and everything with this certain item, animal, or environment. I know that you can overcome it, and it might not be in an instant, like I said, but I know that you can put in the work and that you are strong enough to overcome it. With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and as always, stay being the bad boss that you are. Bye!